The chandeliers didn't just glow, they burned, like someone had trapped constellations in glass and hung them over the richest room in the realm, and beneath them, 500 wolves wearing silk and smiles circled each other on marble older than memory, laughing too loudly, dancing too close, hunting without calling it hunting. The winter moon mating ball, the one invitation that could turn a minor lord into a legend, or a widow by morning. Elara Vance stood in the servant corridor with her shoulder pressed to cold stone, trying to pretend the world wasn't tilting. 3 days. 3 days since Lady Sira had allowed her more than stale crusts and water that tasted like copper. Discipline, her aunt had called it, as if Elara's existence was a crime that needed punishment. Marin, small, round-cheeked, always brave when she shouldn't be, grabbed Elara's elbow. "Stand up," she whispered, urgent. "If the head steward sees you swaying, he'll report it." Elara forced her spine straight. Her dress, if you could call it that, was thin gray linen, patched until it was more thread than fabric. Her knees shook like reeds in wind. Through the archway, she could see them. The 7 Pax nobility draped in velvet and moonstone, eyes bright with the search for their fated mates. Smells of spice, perfume, and predator heat drifted into the corridor like temptation. She was not one of them. She was nothing. 2 more hours, Marin murmured. "Then we sneak to the kitchens. I saved you a roll." Elara tried to smile. It came out wrong. Then a voice like a knife through fabric cracked down the corridor. "Wine. Now. The high table requires more wine." The head steward's gaze snapped to them, sharp and satisfied. Always hunting mistakes. Always ready to carry them home to Lady Sira like trophies. Elara's hands shook as she lifted the crystal decanter. It was heavy enough to feel like punishment by itself. The glass caught the chandelier light and threw it back in fractured gold. Her vision swam at the edges, 1 foot before the other. That was all she needed. She stepped through the archway and into the ocean. Music surged. Laughter rose and fell. Wolves in gowns and tailored coats spun beneath the blazing chandeliers. Couples parted around her without looking, like water around a stone. To them, she was invisible, a ghost in a threadbare dress. Halfway across, her stomach clenched so hard she almost folded. Dots danced in her sight, and then she felt it, a prickling at the back of her neck, like fingertips brushing her skin. Not a glance, not a passing curiosity, a stare. Elara lifted her gaze because something in her bones demanded she find the source, and the world stopped moving. At the center of the high table, elevated above the room on a dais of black iron and pale moonstone, sat the Alpha King of Valdoran, Kael Nightmore. She had heard whispers, the youngest king to ever take the Iron Seat, the wolf who unified 7 Pax through battle before his 25th year, a man who could smell lies the way others smelled rain, a ruler with a temper that left entire bloodlines trembling. The whispers had not prepared her. He was all shadow and silver, sharp-cut cheekbones, dark stubble along a hard jaw, black hair falling carelessly over his brow. But it was his eyes that stole her breath, not gold. Winter moon gold, pale, cold, luminous, fixed on her like he'd been waiting in this room for only one thing, for her. Why is he looking at me? The thoughts scattered as the decanter suddenly felt impossible in her grip. The corridor, the room, the music, all of it tilted, her knees buckled. The crystal slipped from her fingers. She never hit the floor. Arms caught her, fast enough to defy belief, wrapping around her waist and hauling her against a chest radiating heat. The decanter shattered somewhere distant. Wine splashed across white marble like spilled blood. Elara barely registered it. All she felt was him. "Easy," a low voice rumbled against her, rough as thunder. "I've got you." She forced her eyes open and found herself staring directly into winter moon fire. Kael Nightmore held her like she weighed nothing. Around them, the ballroom went dead silent. 500 wolves froze mid-breath. "Your Majesty," the head steward's voice pitched high with panic. "Forgive this disgrace. The girl will be punished immediately. I will remove her from your presence." Kael didn't look away from Elara. "You will not touch her." Quiet words. Absolute command. The steward swallowed. "Sire, I said," Kael repeated, his pupils widening until the gold nearly vanished. "You will not touch her." Elara's heart hammered so hard it hurt. She could feel it against his hand at her waist. She could feel his breath change, deepening, sharpening, like something in him was fighting to break loose. "What is your name?" he demanded. Elara's tongue felt too big for her mouth. Elara, full. Elara Vance." A murmur rolled through the crowd. Vance. The fallen house. The bloodline stripped of standing 15 years ago after her parents died in an accident no one liked to speak about. Kael said her name like he was tasting it. testing it against something deep and old. "How long since you ate?" he asked. The question was so unexpected it stole her ability to lie. 3 days, she whispered. "Your Majesty." Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. A growl, not loud but real, vibrated through his chest. Alara felt it in her ribs. "Who is responsible for this girl?" The crowd parted like instinct. Lady Sarah stepped forward, her powdered face pale, her lips carefully shaped into offended concern. "I am her guardian," Sarah said smoothly. "Her aunt by marriage. This display is dramatic." Alara has always been prone to attention-seeking. Kyle's gaze finally lifted from Alara to Sarah, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "You starved her." Not a question. Sarah's mouth opened, closed. "Your Majesty, I have given her every—" "I can smell the lie on your breath." A shockwave of whispers rippled through the ballroom. Kyle Nightmore's gift for truth was legend, but to use it publicly, against a noble, was humiliation sharpened into a blade. Kale looked back down at Alara, still held against him like something precious. "This girl," he said, voice low and lethal, "is not leaving this palace tonight." Alara's heart stuttered. "What?" Sarah sputtered. "You can't simply take my ward? I am your king." Kale's words were quiet. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I can do whatever I wish," he continued, "and I wish for this woman to remain under my protection." "On what grounds?" Sarah demanded, desperation cracking her polished tone. Kale smiled. It wasn't kind. "On the grounds," he said, and the entire hall leaned in like prey sensing teeth, "that she is mine." The word struck Alara like a wave. "Mine." Gasps tore through the room. Someone dropped a glass. Somewhere, a woman laughed nervously and then choked it back. Alara opened her mouth, to protest, to demand an explanation, to insist this was madness. But darkness crept in at the edges of her vision. Hunger and shock pulled her under. The last thing she saw was Kale Nightmore's face above hers, those winter moon eyes blazing with possession, and something that looked terrifyingly like triumph. Alara woke to silk. For a moment she lay still, cheek pressed into fabric softer than anything she'd ever touched, trying to understand how her skin could be on something so luxurious without it being a dream. Then memory crashed back. The ballroom, the fall, his arms, his voice, mine. Alara bolted upright, her pulse roaring. The chamber around her was enormous, larger than the entire servants' wing she'd shared with Marin. Moonlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows draped in silver damask. The walls were painted with wolves running through midnight forests, their eyes picked out in pale gold leaf. The bed beneath her was an ocean of white linen and thick furs, wide enough for 10 people. "You're awake." Alara's gaze snapped to a corner chair. An older woman sat there, silver hair braided tightly, face weathered but kind despite sharp bones. She wore deep blue robes stitched with royal sigils. "The king's physician," the woman said, rising to pour water into a crystal glass. "I'm Yusra. You've been unconscious for nearly 14 hours. 14? Alara's voice came out rough. Her throat burned. "Where am I?" "The king's tower." Alara's fingers tightened on the sheets. "The king." "Drink first," Yusra ordered gently, pressing the glass to her hands. "Small sips. Your body has been empty too long." Alara drank. Clean water, cold and real. Her stomach cramped as if offended by hope. Yusra revealed a tray, broth, bread, a sliver of fruit. Slowly, Alara stared at it like it might vanish if she blinked. "Why am I here?" Yusra hesitated. Just a breath, but it was enough to be loud. "Alara," she said carefully, "His Majesty was very specific about your care." Alara's hands trembled around the glass. "He said I belonged to him." The door opened without warning. Alara felt him before she saw him, the same prickling awareness, like an invisible force pinning her in place. Kale Nightmore stepped inside and the air left her lungs. He'd changed out of formal attire into simpler clothes. Black trousers, a white shirt open at the collar. The casualness made him worse, not better. Predatory power coiled in every line of him like a promise. "Leave us," he said to Isra. The physician bowed and slipped out without a word. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a lock. Kyle's gaze flicked to the untouched tray. "You should be eating." Alara forced herself not to shrink. "Why am I here?" He moved closer. Not fast now, but measured, like a wolf approaching prey he didn't want to startle. "You are here," he said slowly, "because I brought you here." "Yes," Alara snapped, surprising herself. "I gathered that much." His brow lifted, almost amused. "What I don't understand," she continued, voice shaking despite her effort, Is why. I'm no one. A servant. Less than that. A ward no one wants. Why would the Alpha King of Valdoran claim me in front of 500 wolves? Kyle's jaw tightened. Do you not feel it? He asked. The question struck her still. Feel what? Frustration flashed across his face. Then something else. Something almost vulnerable. When I touched you, he said, voice low. Did you feel nothing? Alara's mouth went dry. She had felt something. Heat like wildfire. A pull like gravity. Her heart racing for reasons fear couldn't explain. I don't know what you mean, she lied. Kyle's nostrils flared. You forget I can smell deception. Heat flooded her cheeks. Then stop asking questions you already know the answers to. For a moment, he just stared. Then the corner of his mouth twitched. You have a sharp tongue for someone in a precarious position. Alara's spine stiffened. Precarious? Am I a prisoner? You are a guest. Guests can leave. Kyle stepped back and gestured toward the door. Then leave. The offer hung between them, real and impossible. Alara pictured Lady Sarah's face. The punishments, the slow starvation, the way Sarah watched her like she was waiting for something to break. Alara did not move. Something softened in Kale's expression, barely there. He lowered himself into the chair Isra had vacated, bringing his eyes closer to her level. I frightened you tonight, he said quietly. That was not my intention. You called me yours, Alara whispered, in front of everyone. A long silence. Then Kale spoke, voice so low she had to lean forward. 23 years ago, he said, a seer came to my father's court. She prophesied the Nightmore line would end with me unless I found my fated mate before my 30th year. Alara's blood chilled. He held her gaze unblinking. I turned 30 at the winter solstice. How soon is that? Her voice cracked. 12 days. Alara stared at him, heart pounding. You think I don't think. Kale cut in, something fierce burning behind his eyes. I know. The moment I caught you, the moment your scent filled my lungs, my wolf recognized you. He leaned closer. Alara felt that heat again, humming beneath her skin like a live wire. You are my mate, Alara Vance, he said. The one the moon made for. The words should have been romantic. They felt like a trap closing. That's impossible, she whispered. I'm not even a wolf. Kale's expression shifted, unreadable. No, he agreed softly. You're something far more interesting. Before she could demand answers, the door burst open. A guard rushed in, face pale. Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion. Lady Sarah has petitioned the council. She demands the girl be returned to her custody immediately. Kale didn't look away from Alara, but his voice turned to ice. Let her try. The council chamber lay deep in the eastern wing, a circle of black marble veined in silver that seemed to pulse in candlelight. 7 chairs surrounded a crescent table, the pack leaders who advised the crown. Alara stood in the center, feeling like a lamb surrounded by wolves. This is highly irregular, Lord Garrick Vale, Alpha of the Northern Pack, said with open disdain. You cannot claim a human at the Winter Moon Ball. The laws are clear. The laws? Kale interrupted from the head of the table. State the king may protect any citizen facing unjust treatment. This woman was starved nearly to death by her guardian. I am exercising my royal authority. Royal authority does not extend to declaring a human your property, Sarah snapped from the petitioner's stand, her composure brittle with rage. My niece is unstable, always dramatic, manipulative. She weighs less than a child, Kale cut in coldly. I could count her ribs through her dress. Whispers rippled. Alara kept her gaze on the floor, shame burning. She hadn't asked for this spotlight. She hadn't asked for her suffering to become court entertainment. A copper-haired councilwoman leaned forward, eyes calculating. Even if we accept the guardian's care was insufficient, you claim she is your fated mate, Majesty. Yet she bears no mark, no wolf scent. How is such a thing possible? That is not the council's concern, Kyle said. It is, Garrick insisted. You expect us to accept a human queen? The Nightmore bloodline diluted? Careful. Kale didn't raise his voice, but the threat in that single word made every wolf in the chamber go still. Alara's hands clenched at her sides. I refuse, she said. Her own voice startled her. Every head turned. Alara lifted her chin, cheeks burning, but she held the gaze of a room full of predators. Whatever the king believes, she said. I have not agreed to anything. You cannot decide my life as if I don't exist. Garrick's eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. Well, the mouse has teeth. Sarah seized the opening. She's overwhelmed. She needs familiar surroundings. Proper care. Allow me to take her home. No. Kale rose. Slow. Controlled. But the air shifted. Wolves sensing a storm about to break. The girl has made her objection heard, Kale said, moving toward Alara. And she is correct. She has not agreed to be my queen. That is her right. Relief flickered in Alara's chest, then drowned under confusion as Kyle stopped directly in front of her. However, his eyes locked onto hers. She does not wish to return to Lady Sarah's care, Kale said, voice softer, deadly in a different way. Do you, Alara? It was a trap. Alara saw it instantly. Say no, and she stayed under a king's shadow. Say yes, and she walked back into starvation and punishment. Alara swallowed. I wish, she said carefully, to make my own choices about my own life. Something like approval crossed Kale's face. Then I propose a compromise, he said, turning to the council while his body remained angled toward her, close enough for her to feel his heat. Alara Vance will remain in the palace as a guest of the crown for 30 days. She will have comfort, freedom, and the right to come and go as she pleases. If at the end of 30 days she wishes to leave, she will be given a generous settlement and safe passage wherever she desires. Garrick scowled. And the prophecy? The solstice is in 12 days, not 30. Kale's gaze returned to Alara with a slow, dangerous promise. Then I suppose, he said quietly, I had better be persuasive. The council erupted in argument. Alara barely heard them. All she could think about was 12 days hanging over her head like a blade, 12 days until the winter solstice, 12 days until the fate of a king. That night, Alara stood at her tower window, forehead pressed to cold glass. Moonflowers bloomed below, petals unfurling in silver darkness. Beyond the gardens, the great forest stretched toward the mountains like a sea of shadow. Food sat untouched on her table, more than she'd seen in months, but her stomach twisted too tight for hunger. You are my mate, Kale's words echoed in her skull. Fated mates were sacred among wolves, two souls bound by the moon itself, destined to complete each other. But those stories were about wolves. Alara was human, wasn't she? A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. The door opened before she answered. Marin rushed in, face flushed, eyes wide with a mix of joy and fear. Alara! Marin threw her arms around her like she'd been holding her breath for hours. Alara hugged back hard, suddenly aching. The servants' wing is on fire with gossip, Marin whispered, pulling back. They're saying the king? I know, Alara murmured. I was there. Marin stared at her with strange seriousness. Is it true? Did he call you his mate in front of the council? He believes he did, Alara said, sinking onto the edge of the massive bed. Exhaustion hit her all at once. He's wrong. Marin's mouth tightened. Have you ever wondered why Lady Sarah hates you so much? Alara blinked. Because I'm a burden. Because my parents died and left me her care. No, Marin lowered her voice. I've lived in that house 6 years. She doesn't just resent you, she fears you. I've seen how she watches you sometimes like she's waiting for something terrible to happen. Cold slid down Alara's spine. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe the king isn't as wrong as you think, Marin whispered. Maybe there's something about you that... The door burst open. Kale Nightmore stood in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes wild. Behind him, Ezra and 2 guards scrambled, alarmed. Sire, please, Ezra protested. This is improper. Kale wasn't listening. His focus was pinned on Alara like a weapon. You're distressed, he rasped. I felt it, through the bond. Alara's breath caught. You felt me? From across the palace? It is not a skill I can turn off, he said, running a hand through his hair like he was trying to hold himself together. When you are upset, I feel a pull. A pull to what? Alara asked, voice shaking. Kyle's jaw flexed. To protect you. To fix whatever is hurting you. The admission hung heavy. Alara felt her heartbeat race and saw his nostrils flare like he could smell the change in her. Isra stepped forward delicately. Perhaps this conversation continues in the morning. The lady has had an overwhelming day. Kyle nodded stiffly. He turned to leave, then paused at the threshold. Alara. She looked up. His eyes held hers with unsettling intensity. The bond between mates is not one-sided, he said. In time, you will feel me too. My emotions. My needs. A pause. Something dangerous flickered behind his gaze. My hunger. Then he was gone, the door closing behind him, leaving Alara trembling on the bed with Marin's hand gripping hers. Marin whispered, What have you gotten yourself into? Alara had no answer, but deep in her chest, somewhere she'd never named before, something stirred. Not fear, recognition, and the desperate, aching need to answer the call of a wolf king who refused to let go. 3 days passed, and Alara kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It didn't. Kale Nightmore kept his word. No chains, no guards posted at her door, no whispered threats in the hallways. Instead, she was given the kind of freedom that felt like a trap simply because she'd never been allowed it before. She walked the gardens when she pleased, drifting through moonflowers that glowed faintly at night like they remembered the sky. She disappeared into the palace library, a cathedral of shelves and quiet, where dust smelled like old power and forgotten truths. She ate meals so rich she had to blink away tears the first time. Bread still warm, broth that tasted like herbs and safety, fruit sweet enough to feel unreal. No one stopped her. No one questioned her. The servants treated her with careful respect, as if she were already what the king had named her in front of the realm. But Kale confused her most. He didn't push, didn't demand, didn't use his power to bend her to him the way everyone expected a king would. He simply appeared. In the library, he'd take the chair across from her without announcing himself, then ask what she was reading, like he cared. In the gardens, he'd fall into step beside her as if it was the most natural thing in the world for a starving ward to stroll beside the alpha king. At meals, he'd sit at her table instead of the high table and ask about her childhood, her favorite weather, what she dreamed about when she still believed dreams were allowed. On the third morning, she found him waiting outside her chamber with a tray of pastries, honey-glazed, steaming, the scent of warm butter making her stomach twist. "You're trying to seduce me," she accused, because suspicion was safer than hope. "I'm trying to know you," Kyle corrected calmly. "There's a difference." Alara narrowed her eyes. "Is there?" A ghost of amusement softened his mouth. "I'm a king. If I wanted to seduce you, I could simply command it. You can't command desire." "No." He stepped closer, slow, deliberate, and Alara felt that pull again, that strange gravity tugging at her ribs. "That," he said quietly, "is precisely why I haven't tried." Then he left her there, standing in her doorway with warm pastries in her hands and heat blooming in her cheeks like betrayal. At night, alone, Alara examined the bond she kept pretending didn't exist. It began as whispers, a flicker of calm when she sensed Kyle nearby, like her body relaxed before her mind could argue, a twist of anxiety when she felt his stress surge through the palace like a storm. By the third night, she could pinpoint his location just by focusing on that invisible thread connecting them, like a compass needle inside her chest. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home to a place she didn't remember leaving. "You're not eating," Ezra said one evening, stepping into Alara's chambers with the practiced ease of someone assigned to worry. Alara stared at her untouched plate. "I'm not hungry." Ezra's gaze sharpened. "Your body is changing, adapting. It requires fuel even when your mind refuses to recognize it." Alara's fingers tightened on her fork. "Changing how?" Ezra hesitated. Again, that brief silence that was too loud. "Has His Majesty spoken to you about what you are?" "He said I'm interesting," Alara muttered. "He refused to explain." "It is not my place," Ezra said softly. "Please." Alara reached for her hand. "Everyone in this palace knows something about me that I don't. I'm tired of being handled like glass." Ezra studied her for a long moment, then sighed as if surrendering to inevitability. "When you collapsed," she said, "I examined you thoroughly. Your body shows no signs of wolf heritage. No heightened senses, no accelerated healing, no shifting capability." Alara's pulse thudded. "Then how can I be his mate?" "That is the question," Ezra admitted, troubled. "But there is power in you, Alara. Something dormant, something suppressed." A chill swept through Alara. "Suppressed by whom?" "I cannot say," Ezra answered carefully. "But the bond with the king is waking it. Whatever was locked inside you is stirring." Marin's earlier words slammed back into Alara's mind. "She doesn't just resent you, she fears you." "What happens when it wakes fully?" Alara whispered. Ezra's face tightened with quiet grief. "I don't know. Whatever you are, child, it has not been seen in a very long time." That night, Alara dreamed she stood in a forest of silver trees, their bark glowing as if moonlight had solidified. A wolf waited at the end of the path, massive, black as midnight, eyes burning pale gold. Kyle. She knew it with the certainty of blood. He approached slowly, then lowered his head and pressed his muzzle into her palm. Heat shot through her veins like fire finding oil. "Mine," his voice echoed inside her skull. "Finally." Alara's fingers curled into his fur. "I don't understand what's happening to me." "You're awakening," the wolf replied. "What was stolen is returning." "What was stolen?" Alara demanded. The dream shattered. Alara gasped awake to find Kale in her chamber, not the wolf. The man stood rigid at the foot of her bed, bare-chested, dressed only in sleep trousers, his face pale, and his eyes wide like he'd run from something unseen. "You were in my dreams," he breathed. "You shouldn't be able to..." Alara shoved herself upright, heart hammering. You can't just be in my room in the middle of the night. I didn't enter, Kyle said, voice rough. He looked dazed. I was already here. What? He swallowed hard. My body walked here while I slept. The bond pulled me. Moonlight spilled over him, catching on the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands flexed at his sides as if he was holding himself back from reaching for her. This cannot continue, Alara whispered. Kale moved closer. Alara should have retreated. She couldn't. The bond held her in place like gravity. No, he murmured. It can only deepen. Kyle. Her tongue stumbled over his name like it was dangerous. His eyes darkened. Say it again. What? My name, he rasped. Say it. Kyle. The sound left her mouth before she could stop it. He shuddered like she'd struck him. When his eyes opened, the gold had swallowed everything else, and he looked at her like a man dying of thirst. I am trying, he said, voice breaking into something almost feral. To give you time to choose this, but the bond... My wolf, his breath hitched. His jaw clenched so hard she heard his teeth grind. Alara's pulse raced. She watched his nostrils flare as if he could smell her fear and something else. What does your wolf want? She asked, and knew the moment she did it was the wrong question. Kyle moved faster than she could track. One moment he stood at the foot of the bed. The next he was there, hands cupping her face, breath hot against her lips. My wolf wants to claim you, he growled, to mark you, to make you mine in a way that cannot be undone. Alara's mind screamed warning. Her body leaned toward him anyway. And what do you want? She whispered. Kale's forehead dropped to hers. The same, he breathed, raw with honesty. God's help me. The same. His mouth crashed into hers. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was hunger and possession, and a vow without words. Alara's hands found his shoulders, meaning to push him away. Instead, her fingers dug into his skin, pulling him closer. Heat exploded through her. Not the warm hum of the bond, but something molten cracking open in her ribs. Kyle groaned against her mouth. His hands slid to her waist, lifting her back into the pillows as he covered her, heavy and burning. Then his teeth scraped her throat. A lightning bolt shot through her veins. Something inside her screamed yes and no at once. Kale, wait! He froze instantly. For a terrible breath, he stayed perfectly still, mouth against her pulse, breath coming ragged. Then he pulled back with agony written on his face. His eyes were wild, more wolf than man. A thin line of blood marked his lower lip where fangs had descended. I'm sorry, he rasped, voice barely human. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... He was gone before she could answer, the door slamming behind him. Alara lay in tangled sheets, throat tingling where his teeth had touched, heart pounding like it wanted out of her chest. And one horrifying truth crystallized with perfect clarity. She wanted him to come back. She wanted him to finish what he'd started. And whatever was waking inside her wanted it even more. At dawn, a servant knocked softly. My lady, he said, eyes averted. The king requests your presence in the throne hall. It's urgent. Alara rose on unsteady legs, pressing fingers to her throat like it might anchor her. As she followed the servant through winding corridors, the bond shifted. Not Kale's usual controlled presence. Something sharp, cold, fear. The Alpha King of Valdoran was afraid, and Alara knew, with terrible certainty, that his fear had everything to do with her. The throne hall was colder than any room she'd entered. Black marble, silver filigree, twin rows of columns leading to the iron seat, moonstones embedded in dark metal pulsing with faint light like a heartbeat. Kyle stood before the throne dressed for war. Black leather armor, blades crossed at his back, posture rigid as if he was holding the room together by force. Alara, he said when he turned, and she saw the dread hollowing his winter moon eyes. There's been an attack. Her stomach dropped. Where? 3 villages on the eastern border. Slaughtered in the night. Alara's hand flew to her mouth. By wolves? Kyle's voice went flat. Something far worse. He descended the dais, every movement precise like he was refusing to let panic show. Have you ever heard of the Hollowed? He asked. The name stirred childhood whispers, stories used to scare children into obedience. Wolves who lost their souls and became hunger-wearing fur. Not lost, Kale said, stopping close. Stolen. He stared at her like he was about to hand her a truth that would break her spine. There is a ritual, he continued, forbidden and ancient. It rips a soul from a wolf and leaves only appetite, only destruction. Alara's voice trembled. Why are you telling me this? Kale's jaw tightened. Because the attacks weren't random. He lifted his hand and cupped her cheek with desperate gentleness, thumb brushing her cheekbone like he was memorizing her in case he lost her. "The villages formed a line," he said. "A path. A path to where?" Alara whispered. Kale's eyes locked onto hers. "Here," he said. "To you." The words made no sense. "No one knew I existed until the ball," Alara choked. "Someone has always known," Kale said, and the bond thrummed with something like grief. "And they're coming." The great doors crashed open. Lord Garrick strode in, face thunderous. Behind him came Lady Sarah, flanked by 2 council members. "Your Majesty," Garrick announced with satisfaction he didn't bother hiding, "we have completed our investigation. The trail of destruction leads directly to this palace." His gaze slid to Alara. "More specifically," he said coldly, "to her." "That's absurd," Alara spat, fear turning to anger because it was easier. Kale's growl rumbled deep. "Is it?" Sarah stepped forward, her composure cracking to reveal something sharp and ugly. "My niece has always attracted misfortune," Sarah said. "Death follows her. First her parents, now villages." "My parents died in an accident," Alara snapped, voice shaking. Sarah smiled like broken glass. "Did they? Is that what you believe?" Alara felt her blood drain. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Sarah purred, "your parents didn't die in a carriage incident. They were executed by order of the previous Alpha King." "No," Alara whispered. "That's a lie. Your father was a scholar who discovered something he shouldn't have," Sarah continued, savoring each word. "Your mother was something that should never have existed." The room seemed to tilt. "And you," Sarah said, eyes glittering with 15 years of hoarded cruelty, "are the abomination they created." Kale stepped between them, a wall of protective fury. "Enough. The people deserve to know what you've dragged into your throne," Garrick snarled. "What you've named your mate. She is the daughter of a moonborn, pure luminance, a creature that hasn't walked this realm in 1,000 years. Her existence is an affront to the natural order." Moonborn. The word rang through Alara like a bell. Something inside her recognized it, answered, stirred in its sleep. Isra's earlier warning echoed, bound, suppressed, waking. Sarah leaned in, voice sharpening. "The binding is failing. Every day she stays near the king, their bond feeds her awakening. And when she fully emerges, she will be magnificent." Kyle's voice cut through the poison like steel. "She will be exactly what she was meant to be." He turned to Alara, eyes fierce. No fear, no hesitation, only certainty. "I don't care what you are," he said quietly, for her alone. "I don't care what they call you. You are mine." Alara's breath caught. "But the Hallowed," Kale said, voice urgent now. "They're coming for your light. I won't let them take it." He framed her face with both hands, forehead pressing to hers. "I need you to trust me," he murmured. "Can you do that?" Every rational part of Alara screamed that this was madness. She'd known him days of fear and confusion and this impossible bond that defied logic. But beneath it all, something deeper whispered, "He is yours, the way you are his." "Yes," Alara breathed. "I trust you." Relief flashed over Kale's face. Then urgency replaced it, primal and sharp. "The binding on your power is cracking," he said rapidly. "When it breaks, the surge will be overwhelming. It could destroy you unless you have an anchor." "Alara," Isra began, alarmed. Kyle ignored everyone else. His winter moon eyes searched hers. "A completed mate bond," he said. "A mark. I need to mark you tonight. Now. It's the only way I can keep you alive when the surge hits." Garrick sputtered. Sarah shrieked. Council members surged forward in outrage. Alara heard none of it. She looked at Kale, felt his fear through the bond, sharp as ice, felt his love, fierce, possessive, unwavering, beneath it like bedrock. "Do it," Alara whispered. Kale didn't hesitate. His mouth found the junction of her neck and shoulder. This time there was no teasing graze. His teeth sank in, pain flared, then transformed into something else entirely. Light exploded through Alara's body. Not warm, not soft. Blinding, terrifying, magnificent. She felt the binding that had caged her for 23 years shatter like glass chains. She felt Kale's soul crash into hers. 2 halves of something ancient clicking into place. And with sudden, horrifying clarity, she felt the Hallowed within the palace walls. They had already arrived. The light faded slowly, leaving Alara gasping in Kyle's arms. Everything was different. The world sharpened into crystalline focus. She heard heartbeats echoing through marble, smelled fear and fury rolling off the gathered council, felt moonlight pouring through windows like a living thing against her skin. "Alara," Kale rasped. "Your eyes." She caught her reflection in the sheen of his armor. Her eyes, once ordinary brown, now shimmered silver, moonlight trapped behind her gaze. The hallowed, she breathed, knowledge flooding through senses she didn't understand. There inside, Eastern Wing, Marin, the name ripped from her throat like a wound. Her friend would be sleeping there. Kale's roar shook the hall. Guards! Eastern Wing, now! Warriors poured from shadows, but Alara felt something worse. A presence behind the hollowed, a hand directing them, a mind guiding their hunger. A presence she recognized with sick certainty. Lady Sarah. Alara turned. Sarah was no longer cowering. She stood tall, eyes gleaming with triumphant malice. You finally see it, Sarah said, and her voice wasn't fully human anymore. It deepened into something ancient and wrong. Took you long enough, little light. Alara's stomach curdled. You, the hollowed? Sarah smiled too wide. I didn't create them, darling. I harvested them. Shadows curled around her like living smoke. One soul at a time, Sarah murmured. 15 years, building my army, waiting for your power to ripen. Why? Alara choked. Sarah's eyes went black. Because Moonborn cannot be killed. Not truly, but their light can be consumed. Alara's throat tightened. You murdered my parents. I executed them, Sarah corrected coldly, for the crime of creating you. Kale stepped forward, blades singing from their sheaths. She's not a weapon. She's my mate, he growled. Sarah laughed, bone dry, wrong. Your mate? You foolish, lovesick boy. You've made this easier. The shadows around Sarah exploded outward. Kale lunged, carving silver arcs through darkness, but the shadows multiplied, waves forcing him back. Alara reached for him through the bond and felt his response. Love like a vow, even under attack. Run, his voice echoed in her mind. Find Isra. I won't leave you, Alara screamed. You must. If she takes your light, everyone dies. Promise me. The shadows closed around Kale. Alara felt his pain lance through the bond like a blade through her ribs. No, she cried, light bursting from her hands instinctively. The shadows recoiled. For one glorious second, Kale broke free. Their eyes met across chaos. Then Sarah's power slammed into Alara like a hammer. She crashed against a pillar, vision spinning. Cold hands, hollowed, grabbed her arms, dragging her toward darkness. Sarah's face hovered inches away, mouth twisting with hunger. Such pretty light, she crooned. Let's see how it tastes. Something sharp and wrong descended toward Alara's throat. Fire exploded through the hall. Not Alara's silver light. This was gold and crimson, a wolf pushed beyond all limits. Kale's war cry shook the marble as he tore through the shadows, body half shifted into something monstrous and magnificent. He ripped Alara from the hollowed grasp and ran, corridors blurred, staircases, hidden passages. Kyle moved with desperation, arms locked around her like iron. Don't let go, he gasped, blood dripping from wounds she felt through the bond. Whatever happens, don't let go of me. Never, Alara promised, voice breaking. They burst through a hidden door into night air. The palace garden stretched beneath a full moon, moonflowers glowing like lanterns. At the garden's center, surrounded by ancient stones carved with runes, Isra stood waiting, face grim. Quickly, Isra commanded. Into the circle. It's the only place her darkness cannot reach. Kyle staggered. His strength finally failed. They collapsed together at the circle's center, and Alara felt old power rise around them like a shield. You're hurt, Alara whispered, hands finding deep gashes across Kyle's chest. His blood was hot, too much, soaking her fingers. Kale's lips curved faintly. Worth it. Kale, Alara choked. You're dying. His bloodied hand cupped her cheek. You're safe, he breathed. That's all that matters. Don't you dare, she sobbed. Don't you dare leave me. Kale's eyes fluttered. I just found you, he murmured, voice fading. My light. Alara pressed both hands to his chest, silver radiance surging instinctively. Isra, help me. Isra's voice was heavy with grief. I cannot. His wounds are beyond my skill. Alara stared down at Kale's paling face, felt his heartbeat weakening through the bond like a lantern guttering. The only thing that can save him now, Isra said softly, is a Moonborn's full power. Alara's breath hitched. Then I'll use it. You don't understand, Isra warned. Your mother bound your awakening. 23 years of compressed radiance. Releasing it could tear you apart. Alara's gaze didn't leave Kyle. Then tell me how to control it. Isra swallowed. Beyond the circle, shadows gathered. Sarah's army waiting for the shield to fall. Your power is moonlight made flesh, Isra said finally. It responds to emotion, to intention. and it has no natural limits. If you open yourself fully, you must anchor yourself to this world, or the light will consume you. Alara looked at Kyle's face, felt the bond still tethering them, thin but real. I have my anchor, Alara whispered. The bond is still forming, Isra pleaded. It may not be enough. It will be, Alara said, steady now, terror burning into resolve. Because I refuse to let it be anything else. She lowered her forehead to Kale's, and she reached for the light. It came like a flood. Everything Alara's mother had bound, everything denied and hidden and suppressed, every sunrise she'd ever felt without understanding why it made her chest ache, poured through her in a torrent of devastating radiance. Alara screamed as her body became a vessel for power that should never have been stuffed into mortal bones. Too much, a distant part of her mind whispered. Too much. Her veins felt like they were turning to starlight. Her skin burned from the inside out. The stones of the ancient circle trembled beneath her knees. But then she felt Kale. Not his body, his soul. A tether in the dark, thin but unbreakable, wrapped around her like a hand refusing to release. I have you, his voice echoed in her mind. Steady despite the blood, despite the fading. Come back to me, my light. Alara clung to that voice like it was the only solid thing in the universe. She directed the flood into him. Silver radiance poured from her palms into Kyle's chest. She watched wounds knit closed as if time itself reversed. Flesh reformed. Blood slowed, then stopped. The gashes sealed like they'd never existed. Kyle's heartbeat strengthened beneath her hands. His breathing deepened. His presence in the bond surged. No longer a guttering lantern, but a blazing flame. Relief hit Alara so hard she almost sobbed. And still, the power kept coming. It didn't stop because she wanted it to stop. It didn't care about fear or limits. It built toward a crescendo she couldn't contain. The ancient stones around them began to crack. Hairline fractures spidered through rune-carved rock. The ground trembled as if the world itself braced for impact. Alara! Isra shouted, voice distant. You must stop. You'll destroy everything. Alara tried. She couldn't. The light had momentum now. Purpose, a hunger of its own. Like it had waited 23 years and it wanted repayment in full. Then a hand snapped around her wrists. Warm. Solid. Kale's. His eyes were open. Not weak now. Commanding. Winter moon gold blazing into Alara's silver. Come back, Kale said aloud, voice cutting through the roar of light. Come back to me. I can't, Alara cried. It's too much. The power is yours, Kale growled. It belongs to you, not the other way around. His grip tightened. His gaze held hers like an anchor chain. You are not your mother's sacrifice, he said, voice fierce with certainty. You are not a weapon. You are Alara Vance, and you are my mate, and I am telling you to stop. Something in him, absolute authority, absolute faith, pierced the light's hold on her. Alara gasped. The power contracted. Not vanished. Not gone. It still hummed beneath her skin, vast and terrifying and beautiful. But it was hers now. Truly hers. You did it, Isra breathed, awe shaking her voice. No Moonborn has ever mastered full awakening so quickly. Alara sagged against Kale, chest heaving. I had motivation. Kyle's arms wrapped around her instantly, holding her like the world could not steal her again. You saved me, he murmured into her hair, voice rough with emotion. That's what mates do, Alara whispered, even though she still didn't fully understand what a mate was supposed to be. Kale laughed softly, broken, relieved, and pressed his mouth to hers. For a few heartbeats, Alara forgot the shadows beyond the circle, forgot Sierra, forgot the palace burning with panic. Then Kale pulled back, expression hardening. Sarah is still out there, he said. I know, Alara replied, rising to her feet. She felt different, lighter and heavier at once, like the world had widened, and she could finally see its true shape. Kale stepped with her, blades in hand. You can't face her alone. Alara turned, silver eyes softening as she looked at him. Through the completed bond, she felt his love like a constant pulse, protective, possessive, real. I'm not alone, she said. I have you. But this, I need to do. If you die, Kyle said roughly, I follow. Alara almost smiled. Then I suppose I'd better not die. She stepped beyond the circle. The night met her like cold water. The hollowed surged from the garden shadows instantly, forms flickering between wolf and smoke, mouths open in silent hunger. They should have terrified her. Instead, Alara felt only pity. You were wolves once, she said softly. You had souls. The nearest hollowed lunged. Alara lifted her hand. Light erupted, clean and precise, and caught it mid-leap. The creature shrieked, not in agony alone, but in relief, and then dissolved into silver motes that drifted upward like freed breath. "Rest," Alara whispered. She moved through the garden like vengeance wrapped in starlight. Each hollowed met the same fate. Not destruction, but release. The darkness peeled away. The stolen hunger loosened. Spirits rose, dissolving into the night like they'd been waiting for permission to go home. Behind her, Kale's presence burned through the bond, steady, proud, furious at anyone who dared try to take her. "Impressive," a voice purred from the far shadows. Lady Sarah stepped into moonlight. She no longer wore her noble mask. Darkness clung to her skin in living coils, her eyes pits of absolute black. "You learned quickly," Sarah said. "Little light." Alara's hands curled at her sides. "I learned enough," Sarah smiled. "Enough to understand you can't kill me?" Alara's voice went quiet. "You murdered my parents." "I executed them," Sarah corrected, bored. "They were fools. Love makes monsters careless." Alara felt Kale's rage flare through the bond. A warning, a promise. Alara took a slow breath, drawing on that connection like a blade sliding from its sheath. "You tortured me for 15 years, she said, voice trembling with fury. "You stole souls. You slaughtered villages. All to get to this moment. All for you," Sarah whispered, and her hunger thickened the air. "Come, let me taste what your mother hid." Sarah attacked. Darkness slammed into Alara like a tide. The impact shook her bones. The stolen power Sarah carried, 15 years of harvested souls, pressed against Alara's light with crushing weight. For a heartbeat, Alara faltered. "She's stronger than me." Then Kale's voice cut through the bond. "Not magic. Something deeper. Faith. You can. You are not fighting alone." Alara drew on that strength and pushed back. She thought of her father's courage. Scholar hands brave enough to reach for forbidden truth. She thought of her mother, moonlight given flesh, sacrificing everything to hide Alara until she could survive. She thought of Kale, his patience, his restraint, his refusal to let her be treated like property, even when he wanted her so badly it nearly broke him. She thought of the life she wanted, and she burned. The light that erupted from Alara was no longer only silver. It turned gold. Sunfire threaded through moonlight, bright enough to make the night recoil. It tore through Sarah's darkness, dissolving shadows, freeing trapped souls in screaming streams that rose like sparks toward the sky. Sarah shrieked, her voice cracking into something inhuman. "No!" she hissed, stumbling. "You can't." Alara stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You thought my light was something to consume," she said quietly. "You didn't understand." Sarah tried to flee, reaching for shadows. There were none left. Alara's radiance had devoured the dark places, turning them into day. Sarah fell to her knees, breath ragged, face twisted in fear. "Please," Sarah rasped, voice suddenly human. "I'm your family." Alara's mouth tightened. "My family loved me. My family died protecting me." Sarah's eyes darted, desperate. "If you destroy me, you destroy her too." Alara froze. "What?" Her voice cracked. A figure stumbled into the ruined garden from the palace side. Marin, hair wild, face smeared with soot, eyes wide with shock. "Alara!" Marin gasped. "Wait, there's something you need to know." Alara's heart clenched. "Marin, are you hurt?" "I'm fine," Marin panted. "But the binding, your mother's binding, it wasn't only to hide your power." Alara's breath turned to ice. "What do you mean?" Marin pointed at Sarah, shaking. "Sarah captured part of your mother's light, her essence. That's what powered the Hollowed. Your mother's soul is trapped inside her." Alara stared at Sarah with her awakened senses, and saw it, a flicker of silver beneath the darkness, a familiar warmth buried under corruption, trembling like a trapped heartbeat. Her mother, still suffering. Sarah smiled through blood and fear. "If you erase me," she whispered, "you erase her." The choice hit Alara like a mountain. Kyle's hand found hers from behind. Through the bond, Alara felt his vow without words. "Whatever you decide, I stand with you." Alara closed her eyes, trying to breathe through the weight. Then she felt something else. A touch, gentle, familiar, against the edge of her light. "My darling girl." Alara's eyes flew open. Within the gold radiance, a form coalesced. A woman made of silver light, delicate and strong, eyes like moonrise. "Mother." Alara's breath broke into a sob. "I don't know how to save you." Her mother smiled, grief and pride woven together. "You already have. Your awakening weakened the chains. I can finally break free." "Then come with me," Alara begged. "Stay. Her mother's fingers brushed Alara's cheek like a blessing. My time ended 15 years ago. I stayed only to protect you, until you could stand. Tears streamed down Alara's face. I love you. I know, her mother whispered. I was with you in every sunrise, in every moonbeam, in every dream where you felt safe. Her mother turned her gaze to Sarah. Sarah, she said quietly. Sarah flinched. I forgive you, Alara's mother said. Not as permission, not as absolution, but as release. Silver light surged outward, merging with Alara's gold. The radiance became so brilliant it turned the entire garden into day. Across the kingdom, people would later swear the moon itself had fallen to earth. When the light faded, Sarah was gone, not destroyed, transformed. A small silver flower grew where she had knelt, petals shimmering faintly, beautiful and terrible. A prison made of beauty for a soul too corrupted to be freed, at least not yet. Alara dropped to her knees, shaking. Arms caught her instantly. Kale, I have you, he whispered, voice breaking. I have you. Alara buried her face against his chest and wept until her body remembered how to breathe. Is it over? She whispered. The battle is, Kale murmured, pressing his lips to her hair. Everything else is just beginning. Dawn broke over Valdoran in shades of rose and gold. Alara stood on the balcony of the king's tower, their tower now, watching light spill over a kingdom changed forever. Kale's arms wrapped around her from behind. Through their completed bond, his contentment pulsed steady and warm. You should be resting, he murmured against her neck. I couldn't sleep, Alara admitted. Too much to feel, too much to understand. His lips brushed the mark on her throat, gentle now, reverent. The council is demanding an audience, Kyle said. Questions about what you are, about whether a moonborn can sit the iron seat, about whether the queen will blind them if they annoy her. Alara heard the smile in his voice. She laughed softly, surprising herself with it. Lord Garrick nearly fainted, Kale added, satisfaction humming through the bond. Good, Alara said. He was rude. Kale turned her in his arms, studying her face as if the sunrise wasn't half as important as what she looked like when she smiled. How are you? He asked quietly. Truly. Alara's throat tightened. I'm grieving, she admitted, for the mother I never knew, for the years I lost. She lifted a hand to Kale's cheek. But I'm also grateful, because a starving girl collapsed on marble, and the most powerful man in the realm caught her and refused to let go. Kale's eyes softened. I didn't understand then, he said. But you knew, didn't you? From the first moment. My wolf did, Cal confessed. The rest of me just had to catch up. His smile was devastating. I thank the moon every moment for sending you stumbling into my arms, he murmured. I cannot imagine a world where you are not beside me. Alara's eyes burned with tears. This time, not only grief. Kyle, she whispered, I love you. He brushed his forehead to hers, voice turning into a vow. I loved you when you were a starving servant who dared to snap at a king, he said. I loved you when you trembled in my arms. I loved you when you walked into darkness alone, and I will love you for every day of forever. Alara laughed through tears. I'll allow it on one condition. Kyle's brows lifted. Name it. Love me even when I accidentally blind council members who annoy me. Kyle's laughter rang across the morning air as he swept her into his arms. My terrifying queen, he murmured against her lips. I wouldn't have it any other way. When he kissed her, the bond sang with completion. Two souls intertwined. A king who had found his light. A moonborn who had found her home. Below them, in the garden, beside the silver flower that had once been a monster, a new moonflower bloomed, its petals shimmering with the same radiance that now lived in Alara's eyes. A reminder that love never truly dies. It only transforms.